Good phantom morning, everybody. And right now, man, it's going to be a quick video on comparing and contrasting. Right now, a lot of the times we get into the comparing and contrasting energies when it comes to ourselves and others, and we look at where people are at, and we look at where we're at, and we're like, God damn it, we want to compare and contrast the two. And a lot of the times this can generate confusion because the other party is blooming wherever the fuck they're planted. You know what I'm saying? Let's say a person is not so financially well off, but another person is financially well off. Well, comparing and contrasting that is only going to lead to some form of confusion because, like, you may not be in that position, but they're in that position. So it's like a person has to bloom wherever they are planted, no matter how it looks. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this just comes from being stuck in the external world and stuff like that in some way, shape, or form. Because we think like money, cars, wearing a nice suit, having all these expensive, lavish things. Now, there's nothing wrong with having these things, but see, people think that that's what it means to be rich, while rich, it just means to cause something to grow, to create fruit, to be fruitful, and to actually have healthy, virtuous fruit and stuff like that, right? Because a lot of people take like the external world and associate it with something that they don't have access to, so it kind of like starts to trigger them, and it kind of makes them angry and pissed off. Like, but see, that trigger itself is a sign that something within you is still in a state of contraction. Something within me is still in a state of contraction, meaning that we're not looking at the full picture, meaning that we're not looking at reality for what it is. We're looking at reality from our point of view, judging it, and that's actually not even judging it. I would say even misjudging it, misrepresenting it, because at the end of the day, like, people are at wherever they're at, and there's no point of taking that and comparing and contrasting it to where you're at, because they probably put some type of effort, type of energy to be where they're at today, right? Because whatever you put in is what you're going to get out at the end of the day. So there's no point of trying to sit here, compare and contrast yourself to other people, you know what I'm saying, and where they're at and why you are where you're at. Because at the end of the day, we all know why we're at where we're at. I know why I'm still at where I'm at. It's because I'm still not out of that pattern that I've been fighting for the last year or two. But if I got out of that pattern, I'd probably be way further than where I am right now, for example, right? Now, that comparing and contrasting energy, that 180 degree, can be very powerful from an analytical standpoint. If you would just for the sake of information and stuff like that, and you see all types of forms of that going on. Like, for example, comparing and contrasting the political form of governing when it comes to China and the Americas, comparing the form of governments when it comes to Europe and the Middle East, let's say, and things like that. So comparing and contrasting that 180 degree energy is very normal. In fact, we live in a universe of opposites and dualities and 180 degrees of all natures. When it comes to the weather, you got hot and cold. When it comes to skin color, you got white and black. You got day and night. So these energies are a natural part of reality. But you know what I'm saying, let's not get lost and flunked out in these energies and stuff like that. Like, for me, for example, I got a moon in Pisces and I got a sun in Virgo and shit like that. These two cause like a 180 degree. So I end up kind of like playing out like a confusion energy almost, where like I gotta look at my imaginations, delusions sometimes, fantasies and shit like that, and separate that, my needs, separate that from my wants and shit, and not confuse the two and shit like that. So it kind of play out as me learning the difference between my wants and my needs and shit like that, right? And similarly, a lot of the times when people are comparing and contrasting themselves with others, it's like you looking at a gorilla that has its own needs and you don't know your own wants and shit like that. It's like that, because it's like whatever got a person to X, Y, and Z is not gonna be the same thing that got you to X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can even try to follow someone else's path and shit like that, but you're never gonna manifest the full potential of that path, because you don't have that same position, you don't have that same energy and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of things that go into a person manifesting their path. It could just be something as simple as like, and look, I'm not even trying to compare and contrast or something like that. I'm looking at it from an analytical standpoint. Let's say a person is white. In the corporate workplace, they might even be able to go a little further than like a black person or some shit like that, just because of systematic racism. Now, is that me sitting back? Now, without producing the jealousy energy, without producing the envy energy, without producing the pissed off energy, Let me remove that a variable from my mind and let me do what I can do best at where I'm at. Because you are where you're at anyways. You can compare and contrast to anyone else. You know what I'm saying? Like Donald Trump one time was like, my daddy gave me a check for $1 million. Well, some of us don't have daddies that can give us a check for $1 million. And that's just the reality of shit. So it's like, we got to deal with the reality and not like get in our feelings and because you know, certain desires that a person can't get to. I'm a feel like this and shit like that. Nah, that's just actually flunking you out. That's flunking me out more. Because we start to like, because whatever you resonate with emotionally is what you start to attract and shit like that. So it's what you're gonna start to experience and shit like that. Oh, we gotta let that, you know, drive past by and shit. But yeah, it's like whatever we start to compare and contrast, and if you let that put you in some type of anger, some type of vice, some type of like negative energy, some type of low vibrational energy, then it just starts to fuck with you. You start to like open a portal and allow thought forms and feelings, and just open up the door for certain entities and shit like that. And chances are, if a person is already doing that, that means they're already like, they already have a pattern and a mentality that causes them to do that. Like sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I'll be just dressed up, looking good and shit. You get older motherfuckers looking at me like, who the fuck does this motherfucker think he is? He thinks he's the shit. And that triggers them. That pisses them off. Because I walk around like I'm the shit. That pisses some people off. And but it's like, ask yourself, why are you not doing that? Right? Because we all have the ability to shine our light. We all have the ability to express our solar plexus. We all have our ability to express our wants. We all have the ability to be expressive, put ourselves out there. But some people just choose to dim their light down for whatever reason. And so, you know, to them I ask, well, why do you choose to dim your light? Because I have to ask myself the same question. Why did you choose to dim your light? And the answer to me that came was insecurity. So what did I have to do? Go deal with insecurities and shit like that, and create security where there was none over there and shit like that. Where it's like, where's the whole idea of like, okay, you may be flawed in an area, but if you actually do the energy work and you do the work to get out of that hell, you can experience a heaven in that area. But you have to go through the fear. See, it's like people are afraid of putting themselves out there. People are afraid of expressing themselves and shit like that. So when they see someone doing it, they start to get kind of intimidated, kind of pissed off. That internal trigger starts to activate. But why not just process your internal hate? Because it's not other people you gotta hate on. It's me that I have to hate on. And I'm gonna ask you the same. You know, if other people trigger you, it's not really them. It's really something about you that you gotta process. Because that's what I have to. I have to process that shit and be like, damn, well, why does this piss me off? Because it shouldn't. No one should be able to piss you off. Because, you know, if a motherfuckers get easily pissed off, like, you know, hey, they're just easy to control. You see how many people in the hood like die and get popped off by a bullet and shit because you know, you got police officers and shit like that know how to put you in a trigger. They might not even be doing it consciously. The system might be designed that way. But just anyhow, at any circumstance, situation, if a person is triggered you and if they're able to draw you out and get you angry and pissed off and riled up, yeah, I can make you do a lot of things. Like, for example, like the Black Lives Matter shit, that was the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life. What nothing productive came out of that? Nothing useful came out of that? Nothing. Just a bunch of niggas making noise. That's all it was. For real, a bunch of gorillas, a bunch of monkey warriors making a bunch of noise. And I'm not mad at them either. But there's healthier ways, because it's not their problem, it's your problem. So it's like man, it's amazing because like homeless people blame rich people for where they're at, and rich people blame homeless people for where they're at, but they're both at the same place. And people might not understand what I mean by that, but man, yeah, shout out to my good brother Will. He was talking about this yesterday on his channel and shit like that, on his show and shit like that. He was talking about how you know, even if you're extremely rich, let's say you have all the money in the world, you fucked as many girls as you can in the world, and you're the top actor and all that. Look at these celebrities. They still feel like fucking losers. They still, like, they don't even feel fulfilled. Like, they're still, like, looking for something. They got all the money. They got all the talent someone else would want to have, but they're still unfucking happy. A homeless person in the street, I meet homeless people that are probably more happier than some of these motherfucking celebrities and shit like that, for real. So then it begs the question, then, what the fuck is this society even doing with this extreme polarity type shit? This is an extreme polar matrix type stuff. Where like, let's say people see the rich guy, people believe that they can't be the rich guy, so they want to kill the rich guy. It's like, it's stupid. It's stupid. Why not just be the rich guy yourself? And it all starts, and again, like I said earlier, money has nothing to do with no form of money from this motherfucking monetary beast system. It has to do with growth, the energy of growth itself. Go outside right now, watch a tree grow. What did it do? It fucking grew. It was little. I was a baby. I grew into a man. And last time I checked, I have more value now to society because my body grew. I can do more. I can do more with my faculties, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with energy, with that green energy. That's what money really is. You want money? Go grow at some shit. Go grow something. Like, you know, this last year or two, I was so bad at having relationships. Like, I could not even have a relationship with a woman because, first of all, I had an extremely bad relationship with myself, so I had to go fix that first and shit like that, right? And now I'm able to do that much more better. So I experience growth now when it comes to my relationships more than I have for the past year or two because I actually fucking took action about it. So if you want to grow in any area, if you want a new relationship, if you want money, because money is gonna come to you in the form of what are you growing into type shit, right? Whatever you're causing to grow, man, you could be just painting rocks and you can get really good at painting rocks. Eventually someone's gonna see the value in what you're doing and pay you to buy a rock, like type shit. For real. So it's like that. You want to chase growth, not necessarily like comparing and contrasting or anything like that. And growth itself come as a result of balance, being able to understand, okay, what idea do I want to apply today in the direction of whatever it is that, you know, whatever discipline that you have developed, and how can I take that idea to and relate that idea to create an environment, green growth type of energy, type shit like that. It's like going outside, looking at nature. You got like a seed. You want to plant that seed in the ground. Then boom, you got leafy green vegetables coming from the ground type shit. It all starts with the seed that you plant in you and your discipline and shit like that. Like that second house of Taurus value and shit like that. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say today and shit like that. Yeah. Don't compare and contrast where you are to others. Like, for example, right? Like, I'm from the Middle East and shit like that, right? It's certain stuff that I wasn't exposed to, certain experiences that I didn't, especially when it comes to relationships. Because in the Middle East, like, you're not really supposed to have a relationship with a woman until you get married. Well, you know, when I came to the West, it was a whole different system. So I had to learn to get down with that system and shit like that, right? So, yeah, it's like, so I had to experience growth in that area. Because what was I talking about? The 180 degree. I literally experienced a 180 degree in real life. Migrating from the Middle East, from that culture, from that system, to the Western side of the world, to that culture, to that system. And I had to experience a whole complete 180 shift within my own psyche, within my own mentality as well. So whatever works in the Middle East does not work in the West. Common sense. So it's like, yeah, I had to figure a bunch of stuff out. We'll just put it that way. You know what I'm saying? Because, but yeah, I'm honestly grateful for it and all that shit. Because when I look at relationships in the West, half of these motherfuckers can't even keep a marriage. Half of these motherfuckers can't even like get into some type of serious relationship, a serious committed relationship. So you know what? I'm glad that I'm able to bring those point of views from the East to the West. Because I'm actually going to bring something more valuable. Because it's like, you know, the idea of even just running around and sleeping with a bunch of females is a waste of time too, technically. And like, people find out that it's a waste of time eventually. So really, the whole Western construct is a whole misdirection, basically. It's actually a whole 150 degree. It's a whole it actually literally creates a misunderstanding. But even coming from the Middle East, it creates a misunderstanding, a bias, and all types of shit. So me coming to this side of the world is gonna help me kind of really close in on all these biases. Not that you need to do that, but since that's my experience and that's my point of view, and that's where I'm coming from, that's kind of like where I'm gonna be coming from personally, because that's my experiences, you know what I'm saying? That's good. What I'm gonna be talking about and shit. But yeah, take care everybody, and I'm gonna see y'all on the next video. You know, don't compare and contrast. There's no point of that shit. You know, you are where you are, bloom where you are, and if you want to experience growth, it's gonna be the result of some serious fucking action. Real stuff.